Hi, and welcome to Southern Q. My name is Jim Johnson. I'm a KCBS Pitmaster and an international barbecue instructor. I've won 78 grand championships on the barbecue circuit. I may not be a chef, but I'm a master of open fire cooking. I travel all over the world teaching people how to cook barbecue. And now I'm going to teach you at home. I might not be able to make you a world-class pitmaster overnight, but trust me, I will make you better than your neighbor. Today's menu is going to consist of what? Pig candy, brisket, signature salad. Whoa, pig candy, you say? What is that? Call your neighbor because you're going to want to see this. Get back over here, we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to make pig candy. Brisket, whoa, that's the nemesis. Every pitmaster's fear. They hate doing brisket. They're afraid of it. It's called the heartbreak meat for a reason. But today we're going to show you how to make the most succulent beef brisket you've ever had. We're going to finish that up with the Southern Q signature salad. Nice, crisp, tart. It's going to be very refreshing. Pairs well with the meal today. I can't wait to get started. I hope you can't wait either. So let's get started and get the blue smoke rolling. Okay, everyone, we're ready. We've got the nemesis, the pitmaster's nightmare. We've got a brisket. Certified Angus beef, high quality, beautiful cut. Look at this beautiful marbling. We're going to get started. We're going to trim this up. We're going to talk a little bit about it as we go. So bear with me as we go. When I get a brisket, I want to trim mine up. It's a very lean piece of meat. What about the brisket? It's the chest of the cow. That means that supports the weight of that cow. It supports 65% of the weight of that cow its entire life. So that's a strong, work hard muscle, so we're not going to have a lot of fat in it. Even though we have fat covering, there's not fat in the meat. So what we want to do is we want to take a little of this off the outside. We always want to trim our meat just a little bit. So what happens is I'll come down and find the silver skin, take that off, trim that up, make that look good. It's got to be appetizing. So what I do is I'll come in and I trim it. A little fat's good because where's the flavor? In the fat. The other thing is this is called a full packer. What does that mean? This is the flat, this is the point. The point is the shoulder clod. That's the muscle that goes up into the shoulder. Got a lot more marbling. What's going to happen is this is that lean muscle we just talked about. So what's going to happen with this is it's going to be very, very dry if we're not very careful with it. We got a lot more fat content in this. If you'll notice, we have the grain. The grain will run long ways across your brisket in this direction. You look at your point, it runs this way. So we're going this way and this way. So you see we have two different muscles. We have a decal here. This decal is this big piece of fat, or tallow as we call it. If you'll notice, it comes right around through here, and that separates the flat from the point. Flat's going to be the one you normally see the slices out of. So what's going to happen is you're going to be able to see the different cuts here. So beautiful marbling here, nice fat content, real soft, strong muscle here, heavy, dense. We're going to separate this at one point because this is going to be the part that we get those great burn ends from. We get the slices from this, burn ends from this, and we're going to have a wonderful time doing this. But I want to talk a little bit about it. You notice I've got a little bit of fat on the bottom. Why do I have fat on the bottom? I like mine a 1/4 inch trimmed. What does that do for me? A little bit of flavor, and it's a protection. If you're to cook with an open flame underneath your fire, if it flares up, it burns the fat, not the meat. I can always scrape fat off after it's burnt, but I can't scrape good meat off. So be very careful about that. The other thing is, there's a misnomer out there. A lot of people will say, cook it fat side up, self-baste itself, cook it fat side down, protect itself for flavor. It's up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Today we're going to cook it fat side down. And why do I do that? Because the minute this temperature, internal temperature, reaches 140 degrees, juices are coming out. So that means nothing's going in. So the idea of fat going down through there doesn't hold water with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook this whole. Now we're going to season this. We come back, we got some garlic powder. You see how much garlic powder we have here? And I mean, you have to put a lot on because this is very dense, very heavy, very heavy piece of meat. Oh, you can smell the garlic. Holy cow, can you ever smell the garlic? There won't be a vampire come around here for years. So the garlic's so strong. I want to put a heavy coat of that on. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to use some of the Southern Q dry rub. Go to our website, get all the recipes. You'll even get the recipe for this brisket because this is the heartbreak meat and it's not going to break our heart. We're going to come back, put a little of the dry rub on. This is going to give us a nice crust because why? We have some sugars, some salts, some paprika. It's going to give us a nice color and a nice bark. Bark, you say? What's that? Bark is the exterior of the meat that has been rubbed with a special blend of whatever flavors you want, and then the smoke hits it. That gives you that nice mahogany color you're going to get on the outside. Then we're going to come back with what's called a prime rib rub. What's in here? Salt, peppers, chipotles, different kinds of peppers. Because again, very dense piece of meat, we want flavor. Won't penetrate much, trust me. And when you slice this, you're going to slice a slice about 3/8 of an inch thick. What that means is that little 3/8 of an inch that you're going to have on that slice is the only place where you're going to have that flavor because you're not going to get that flavor penetration through and through. So what we're going to do now is we've got this doctored up really, really pretty. Beautiful piece of meat. Take a look at this. This is what you want it to look like. You want to be able to reach out there and say, hey, this is absolutely gorgeous. All those peppers, all those spices, they're all going to blend in together. It's going to be a beautiful piece of meat and it's going to taste well. So what I want you to do is don't be afraid of the nemesis and don't let it break your heart. So let's go to the smoker with this. I'm going to cook this for about 12 hours at 250 degrees. Wow, that's a long time, you say. There's a lot of things we can do in the meantime. Cut the grass, wash dishes for your wife, anything you like. I'm going to turn around and put that on. We got that nice piece of meat that's going to look beautiful on the smoker. We're going to cook this for 250 degrees for about 12 hours. So let's put this thing to bed. I'm going to close this lid up because if you're looking, you ain't cooking. And we need to be cooking. So we're going to put this to bed, get the blue smoke rolling, come back and check on it in just a little bit. Onions. Very popular. Very handy, a cook's best friend. What are we going to do with this onion? I love onions for one thing. So what I'm going to do is if I were going to be cooking on the grill and I wanted to cook a steak, one of my little tips and tricks to make you better than your neighbor is going to be to peel my onion, cut the top off. I'm going to take a little paring knife and make a little hole down through. So we're going to have a volcano going down in my onion. In the bottom of that little volcano, I'm going to drop a beef bouillon cube. I'm going to put the beef bouillon cube in there, a little minced garlic on top of that, a pat of butter on top of that, and then where I cut across the top, I've got these little rings. In there, I'm going to pour a little Worcestershire sauce in there, down through it. I'm going to wrap this in aluminum foil. I'm going to put this on my smoker. I'm going to cook it until it gets soft and smushy. So when I squeeze it on the side, I'll be able to feel that. Then I'm going to grill my steak, take this off, and serve it as a side. This, my friends, is going to make your neighbors very jealous. Today we're doing a brisket, but before we do that, because why? The brisket takes a long time. I want to be able to eat a little bit quicker than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little bit of an appetizer for all the guys coming over to watch us do that nemesis. And what are we going to do? We're going to make pig candy. Pig candy, you say? What is that? It's going to start out with cured slab bacon. Remember, when you go to the grocery store, what's going to happen? Don't get the sliced bacon. Get it unsliced. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our knife, sharp knife. Be careful at home, folks, because these knives are very sharp, and we don't want anyone hurt watching our show. We're going to take this, and we're going to cut it in strips right down through there. It's going to be beautiful. We'll take this, and then we're going to start just cutting up cubes. Do this at home. Bite-sized morsels. Invite your neighbors over, because what's going to happen? We're going to be better than them today. We want them to see this. We want you to be the envy of the neighborhood. How are you going to do that? By watching this show. We're going to give you tips and tricks on how to make you better, and we've already made you hungry. So let's do this. We're going to take this. I'm going to slice up this one last piece, and look how many pieces this made. This is going to be something that's going to be great for you and the guys just hanging out today. We're going to take this, get a little cake warming rack, bring it in, set it up, and we're gonna take our bacon and we're just gonna roll it in this. Now what do we have here? We have brown sugar and we have some of our dry rub. The dry rub is gonna be on the website at the recipe. So you can go on the website, get the recipe, come in, and we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna give this a quick toss in here. We're gonna coat this very, very well on each side. What's that do for us? That allows the brown sugar to caramelize, and thus the word pig candy. So we're gonna put some on a rack. We don't have to do them all today, but we're gonna put some on. Give it a good quick toss. I like sometimes just to let them set a little bit, because once they set, the dry rub and the brown sugar will start pulling some of the moisture out. And once it does, it'll caramelize up really, really good. And we're gonna go to the grill with it. So what we've got is, we've got the pig candy ready to go to the smoker. Doesn't this look great? Look at this, folks. It's gonna make you the envy of the neighborhood. We're gonna put this on our smoker, 250 degrees, and we're gonna come back and check on it in about an hour. So we're gonna put some smokiness into it. The brown sugar is gonna caramelize. We're gonna render some of the fat out. It's gonna be fantastic. So don't go anywhere. Keep your seat. We'll be right back, and we're gonna show you how to finish up the pig candy. Okay, when I last left you, we had put our pig candy on. So what have we done? It's been about 40 minutes now, 250 degrees. I'm ready to go to the grill and see what we've got. We had a call. All our buddies started coming over. We were gonna make a few just to get the party started, but it looks like people found out early. They're all on their way, so let's see what we have today. Oh, isn't this gorgeous? Look at the beautiful colors. You see the caramelization that you get from the brown sugar. You see that it's starting to render out. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna bring this over to the cutting board. You notice why we put it on a cook sheet? Look what it does. Again, always close your lid. Why? Because if you're looking, you ain't cooking, and we don't want to lose any heat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, I'm gonna hold one up. Take a look at that. You see how it's caramelized. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They're done now, they're really good, but because of the little marbling that we have in it, some people like them a little crispier. All you have to do is leave them on the smoker a little bit longer, and you get that real nice crispy edge, the nice marbling on the inside, and the flavor profile that runs through and through. It's gonna be caramelized on the outside because of the brown sugar and the dry rub. So don't be afraid. It's preference when it comes to cooking. If you want to cook them longer and have them crispier, that's up to you. I like them that way, but I also love them this way. My neighbors are going to love this too, and so will yours. Sitting here after a long day of cooking, I look back and when I first started, and I think about all those people that are going from grilling to pitmaster, and some of the things that they do. A lot of times I see people and they start using mustard, and they use apple juice, and they use this and they use that, and I go ask them a question: why do you do that? And it's because somebody had told them to do it, but nobody learned the science behind it. So what I do is I use yellow mustard on my ribs or on my pork butts. What happens is, why do I use yellow mustard? Because if you take your dry rub is oil-based. You need an oil to break down an oil. Otherwise, what's going to happen is our pork ribs are going to be water-based. So if you take a glass of water and a glass of oil, and you put a teaspoon of each one of my dry rubs in each one of them, an hour later you come back, the dry rub will be floating on top of the water. An hour later, the oil will be all red because my dry rub will disperse and break up and go down in it. So I get deeper penetration with that instead of just floating on the top. So when I cook, I want the flavor penetration down deep. So what happens is I will take the yellow mustard on there. What's in yellow mustard? Vinegar, oil, spices. So guess what? I've got the oil I need to break down my rub. Vinegar's a natural meat tenderizer, so I need that. Spice is just another layer of flavor I just didn't have to pay for. and it makes my dry rub adhere to the meat better. So when you're cooking at home, learn a little bit about the science behind what we're doing. Enjoy your days, and again, keep the blue smoke rolling. It's been 6 hours. We've had our brisket on, the nemesis, the heartbreak meat. We're ready to show you how to make it better. What did we talk about earlier? The flat, the point. We trimmed it up, seasoned it up. Now we've got a nice bark going on. How do we get this nice caramelized bark? We take our little spritzer, and about every hour we go out and spritz it with some cola. What that does is it gives that nice caramelized bark, and that's what we want to do. So we've done it to this point. We don't want it to dry out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the next step. Watch closely, because these are the tips that are going to help you be better than your neighbor. We're going to take our roasting pan. You can use any aluminum pan from wherever. Take a look at this. It's been on 6 hours. Beautiful caramelization. We've got the nice color. Look at this. It looks gorgeous in the pan. We're going to add some more flavor to it. And how are we going to do that? We're going to start off with some beef tenderizer. We're going to start off with some beef stock so that we get a nice flavor. And we're going to come back and we're going to add some cola. Why do we add cola? Because I want that caramelization. The acid in it helps break down, makes it tender. But you'll notice I'm not pouring anything over the top of my meat. Why am I doing that? Because I don't want to wash all those wonderful flavors off. I'm adding the flavor to it. I spritz with Coca-Cola, but a light spritz won't wash it off. If I pour it over heavy like that, what'll happen is every time the flavors will come off. So what you always want to do is put that flavor in the corners. Now we're going to come back. We're going to take some aluminum foil. We're just going to wrap this. Very simple, very easy to do. Some people will like to wrap it in aluminum foil. I do, because that way I can wrap it in a pan, put my moisture in it, keep it from drying out. Texas style, you're going to see this a lot. No right or wrong way to do barbecue, but you're going to see people use butcher paper. And what they'll do is they'll roll that meat and put it in butcher paper, and that's all they're going to do is wrap it in butcher paper and put it back on the smoker. What happens is because we got the moisture in here and the foil top, it's going to steam inside. Steam is going to make my bark soft. It's not going to be a hard, brittle bark. With the paper, when you use the butcher paper, that allows the steam to transfer out, and it will not make your bark hard. It'll make that hard bark stay that way. So what's going to happen is we're going to take this, go to our grill. We've got the smoker going. We've maintained the temperature. We're ready to go back. We're going to put this to bed for just a little bit. So again, we recap it. We've taken it halfway through, put it in, put our juices in there so that we have some moisture, foiled it up, and now we're going to let this rest for about another 5 hours before we come check on it again. So go get your favorite adult beverage, sit down, have a drink, watch the ball game, do some more dishes, but we're going to be back to check on it in just a minute. Okay, folks, it's been an all-day process. We've done the brisket. We've got to have a side to go with it. So how are we going to do this? We said earlier we were going to make the Southern Q signature salad. How do we do that? Get a head of lettuce, chop it up, bite-sized chunks. Now we're going to take some really nice peppers. We're going to add that to it. Beautiful peppers. Any color you want, doesn't matter. Mix and match them. Have some fun with it. It's all about that. Then we're going to take a sweet Vidalia onion. We're going to add some onion to this. Pretty simple ingredients, right? Now we got some really red, ripe, vine-ripe tomatoes. Nothing better than a vine-ripe tomato. We're going to add that to it. Now what's going to happen is we're going to come back and give that just a little quick toss. Look how gorgeous this is. Look at the colors. This just screams summer. Look at the colors we have here. And I said what? I said we were going to make a signature salad. Not impressed, are you? You will be now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this aside because 4 ingredients, very simple. We like simple. I'm going to take this bowl, take a handful of fresh mint. Everybody grows mint, easy to find, get it anywhere you want. We're going to take this, give it a rough chop. You don't have to pulverize it, you don't have to do anything. Stems and all. I said it was signature. Not many people put stems in their mint dressing. We're going to put that in. Then we're going to come back. I've had my smoker going all day. I've cut lemons in half and put them on my smoker. Why did I do that? Because I get them hot. If you take a cold lemon, cut it in two and squeeze the juice out, take one that's hot and squeeze the juice out, you get 20% more. So we're going to get all the juice we can out of this lemon, and now I'm going to do is just squeeze it right on top of that fresh mint. Look at all the juice just keeps coming out. We're squeezing this thing, it'll be next Tuesday before I get all the juice out of this lemon. Look at this, isn't that beautiful? Again, you can see that. If you want to caramelize them even more, if you're doing a little trick, we've got time for a trick. If you're doing fish and you want to impress your neighbors, cut the onion in half, put a little sugar on top of it, put it on the grill, it'll caramelize over the top. The longer lemons cook, the sweeter they get. So it won't overpower the flavor of the fish. So now, we're not having fish today, we're having a signature salad. We're going to come back, we're going to add all this. This is very simple, very easy, very refreshing in the summertime. We're going to take this, I'm going to set this off to the side. We're going to bring that beautiful salad back to the table. What I've got here, as you can see, is just rough cut mint and some lemon juice. And why did I rough cut it? Because when it's rough cut, what happens with that is the oils will come out of it and we can put more flavor and infuse that lemon juice. Now I want to come back and add just a pinch of sea salt. We're going to add a pinch of sea salt to this, and why are we doing that? Just to cut down the acidity level a little bit. We're going to give that a nice stir. We're going to squeeze that a little bit, and if you want to make this ahead, by all means do so. It's really, really good. You can make this in advance, come back and do the salad. Now all I've done, you noticed I squeezed everything in it. So I've got seeds, I've got the mint. We don't want all that in our beautiful salad. So what we're going to do now is we're going to strain it. As we strain it, we're just going to pour it right over the salad. You can't get more refreshing than that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do that salad dressing becomes your signature salad dressing. So try the Southern Q signature salad. It's been 5.5 hours. We've gone back, we checked it. How do we know if it's done? We take a meat thermometer, 200 degrees internal temperature. We know it's going to be perfect. So what we've done is we've cooked it in our au jus and we've done the temperature test. So we want to make sure it's going to do that. We can also pick it up and flop it around a little bit and it looks like a bowl of Jell-O. We're not going to do that right now. Always use a meat probe, 200 degrees, you're going to be perfect. What did we do with all that lovely juice? We poured that off and we kept it in a separator. Why do we do that? We have these beautiful drippings. All that fat that we had in there rendered out, and what did it do? It mixed in there. For those of you that don't like the fat and want to cut back, use a separator to stay on top as you pour it. The fat will stay on top. We call that flavor. We don't call that fat. This is wonderful. This is all that nice flavor. Remember, we had the cola in here, we had the au jus in here, we had the beef bouillon, all that. This is going to be a nice thing. We're going to save this. Don't pour this out. This is liquid gold, folks. We're going to save that. We're going to come back. Remember how we had that big decal in here? We had that big piece of fat? We're going to talk about that. This is the flat. This is that point. You notice how it cooked down. Got that nice bark. Look at this beautiful bark. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely gorgeous. So we got that beautiful bark, and this is not so dry or so moist and everything, but it's not dried out on us. You see how shiny it is? But this is the part we talked about with making the burn ends. This is that part that every pitmaster loves. We're going to take this and we're going to slice this up, and you just cut it in about 1 inch thick cubes. We're going to take this, slice it like so, cube it up. Now, some pitmasters like to turn it over, add a little more sauce to it, put it back on the smoker for a little bit, but this pitmaster doesn't. So I'm going to take this, have a bite of that. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that smoke ring that we had there. Isn't this, I just can't describe it to you. Look how moist it is. We talk about how brisket dries out. Look how moist that is. So we're going to be able to add that. That's how we're going to make our burn ends. How do we do our slices? Remember, we talked about the grain, and we want to cut across the grain. So I can see my grain running this way. A lot of times when I do competition, I always cut one corner off, and I call that an index cut, so that no matter how much rub I put over the top, I know where to start my cut. So I know what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and cut into it. I'm going to open this up. I want to show you at home. Look at this. Can you see that moisture? Beautiful moisture. You see how that looks like an accordion? Look how that meat's starting to separate. Absolutely wonderful. This is what you're looking for. This is how you're going to take a beef brisket, turn it from your nemesis to your best friend. We're going to take this. This is going to be called heartbreak meat for a reason. Today it didn't break anybody's heart except your neighbors because they're not getting any. So we're going to plate this up, come back, enjoy it. It's a wonderful piece of meat. Okay, folks, we've been at the smoker all day. What have we done? We challenged that nemesis, that pesky brisket, that heartbreak meat. Look today, that didn't break anybody's heart but your neighbors. We've got some excellent product here, so let's recap what we did today. What did we do? We did pig candy. How did we do that? We took some uncured bacon, cubed it up, rolled it into brown sugar and some of the special Southern Q rub. Recipes on the website. But anyway, we smoked that 250 degrees for about 40 minutes. Then what we did is we took that pesky brisket. We talked a little bit about the point, the flat, and the parts we can make from it. So what did we do with that? We cooked it right up. Look how juicy that is. Very juicy. Look at that beautiful smoke ring. This smoke ring and everything, that's what Pitmasters live for. So we got a beautiful smoke ring. We had that point. We cut it up, and what did we make with it? Some burnt ends. Beautiful, succulent burnt ends. We've got this beautiful plate here. We did some pit beans just because we felt like we needed to. And then what we did is we took our plate and we had some beautiful rye bread. What did we do with that? We added horseradish mayo and some red onion. Made us a beautiful sandwich. Then we came back and started with our Southern Q signature salad. Chopped up the onions, the peppers, tomatoes, the lettuce. And then we made that signature dressing because what we did is we heated up those lemons, squeezed it over some fresh mint, added a little bit of sea salt, let it set for a little bit, poured that right over the top. Very, very refreshing. And until next time, folks, cheers and keep the blue smoke rolling. What we did is we took our plate and we had some beautiful rye bread. What did we do with that? We added some. What did we do with that? What the hell did we do with that?